Your computer or phone is your Flow cashier. Thanks to Fast Pay on our website, it's a quick and easy way to pay your bills anytime on any device. No need to register. Simply select the bill to be paid, enter your account number or mobile number and the amount you wish to pay, plus where to email the receipt. Then make the credit card payment. It's that easy. Fast Pay for Flow bill payments at discoverflow.co.
Know that you captured those special moments. Turn them into lasting memories at the TDC Business Center. Purchase your photo print bundle and get a chance to win a Canon MG3010 printer. Click, add print. Visit TDC Business Center today.
When they start them there, we are top man, we take charge. Have no original, we are shell down us. Blast like a star in some gallop. Overdue, we take it too far. Take charge, take charge.
We are a gal, we set the trend. Magnum, we drink for the top man then. Wine with the style, no stop from spin. At blem, back bend, and take charge, take charge.
Magnum tonic wine, for the real star them. Take charge, take charge. Must be 18 or older, drink responsibly.
Good morning, St Kitts and Nevis. You are listening to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. Today is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021, and I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this edition of Voices. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 2021 St. Lucia General Election that was held there on Monday, July 26th, and we will be having on our program special guests that will be giving their take and their opinion, their thoughts on the general elections that were held there. And of course, we will be entertaining some comments from you, your opinion, your views. Is this something that you saw? Is this something that you expected? And that will form part of the discussion here on Voices. For those of you who are interested in calling, the numbers to call are 466-0989-762 and 662-0989. We're also live on Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook at WINN Media SKN, YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Voices on WINN FM 98.9. So, general elections were held in St. Lucia on Monday, July 26, 2021. And the St. Lucia Labour Party, which was in opposition, the St. Lucia Labour Party won the election convincingly. And the results were quite shocking to many people, as some persons predicted a win for the UWP, the United Workers' Party, led by Alan Chastity. Of course, while others predicted a win for the opposition St. Lucia Labour Party. I remember some time back we were here discussing this very same topic. And from what I was seeing on social media, I hinted that, it's possible that the St. Lucia Labour Party would win the election. Others were of a different opinion, which is totally fine. So now we're here to examine what took place and for us to give our opinion and thoughts on the general elections that were held there. Joining us at 11:30 will be Kamali Mannix. He's a youth parliamentarian out of Antigua and Barbuda, and he will be giving his take on the general elections that were held there. Now, I want to tell you that today at 12:30, when we come back for the second hour, a newly elected member of parliament will be joining us here on Voices. So remember and don't forget to stay tuned, as we're going to be joined by a newly elected member of parliament, and he will be giving us an insight as to the election campaign, how was it, and what they expect going forward, and what they intend to do for their constituency and ultimately for the people of St. Lucia. And that will form part of our discussion here on WINN FM 98.9. So I had the opportunity to follow the election there in St. Lucia. And as I stated before, I sensed that the opposition would have won the election. And I somewhat predicted that would have been the outcome. Following social media as it is now, Facebook, social media, but more so, Facebook is the epicenter, the center of politics. Everything political is channeled through Facebook. People express their views and opinions through Facebook. And so you get an idea of what to expect in elections when you follow Facebook very closely, social media, because especially for people between the age range of 20 to 45 or to 50, they will quicker go to Facebook to share their views and opinions on certain matters. We saw a trend across the Caribbean region where incumbents were being re-elected. Here in St Kitts and Nevis, the unity government was re-elected. In Jamaica, the Jamaica Labour Party was re-elected. In Trinidad, the same thing. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the same thing. And so many persons were of the opinion that this would have been the same for St. Lucia. However, obviously that was not the case, as based on the results, many St. Lucians were not pleased with the performance of the Alan Chastity administration, and so they took to the polls on Monday to send a message that they want something new, and they want to see something new coming to the table in the island of St. Lucia. It was, for some political pollsters, they say it was too close to call. Alan Chastity says that he is a bit baffled and shocked by the results, and I think many others are shocked as well. But it was a really, really close one. As I said before, many people predicted that this would have been the one for the UWP, or this would have been the one for the Labour Party there in St. Lucia. But we're now seeing that, people went out in their numbers, particularly, I wouldn't really narrow it down to say just Labour supporters, but more so, St. Lucians in general went out and they cast their vote for an administration that they feel would be able to run the affairs of the country. Now, I came across a message from the former Prime Minister Alan Chastity, where he was basically saying thank you to the people of St. Lucia and the people that voted for his party. He said, let me start by thanking all the supporters of the United Workers' Party who stood with me and our government in this election and over the last 5 years. We have stayed focused and strong. That is UWP. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers always for me, my family, and for my colleagues. It was truly a privilege to serve you as Prime Minister. It was also a special honor to serve with a remarkable team of men and women. I am proud of the slate we put forward during this campaign. I also thank our UWP party chairman, the executive, and the other hard-working people who form part of the team workers. Once again, thanks to all the voters who showed their love for our party. I believe that everything we have done is to put St. Lucia on the right footing to true progress, and our policies will continue to benefit St. Lucians from all walks of life. If there is one thing that remains true as you look around our island, it's the work of the UWP is present in both our country's physical development and the development of our people. I know the results came as a shock to many of you. Still, I call on you pridefully to continue to hold the torch up high. We will take time to heal, regroup, and keep the flambeau flame burning. No one person can define our historic party for us. We know in our hearts the core values that have carried us through: honesty, respect, teamwork, and commitment, he says. I can inform that I have called the new Prime Minister-elect to congratulate him, and I wish him the best. I look forward to continuing to serve the people of Midcoud South, and I congratulate my brother, Honorable Bradley Felix, and all our candidates who put up an amazing fight. We still have to keep working. The United Workers' Party is bigger than any one person. We all love this country. Let us pray for peace and tranquility in St. Lucia as we do our part as good citizens to see progress continue. Stay strong, stay united. May God continue to bless our island home. This was from Alan Chastanet, former Prime Minister of St. Lucia and leader of the United Workers' Party, conveying his congratulations to the Prime Minister-elect, Philip J. Pierre, and thanking the people of St. Lucia, thanking the supporters of the United Workers' Party for their support in the 2021 general election. We're going to take a break to say thank you to the sponsors for this program. And when we come back, we're going to take some of your calls to get your comments in quickly. And we're going to take our first guest at 11:30 for a brief interview into the 2021 St. Lucia general elections. Let us take this break and we will be back shortly.
Staying healthy has taken on a whole new meaning these days. So we ask, why do you put your health first?
As a business professional, I need to make the most out of my work days.
I'm a teacher and I want to be there for my students.
In sports, I have to be in top form for my team.
Motherhood, I just got to keep up with my kids.
Because my patients rely on me to be at my best.
Staying healthy is important for many of us, and Halib Orange makes it easy. Just one 1,000 milligram tablet of vitamin C gives your immune system a flavorful boost, leaving you protected and feeling good for the day ahead. Halib Orange Vitamin C. Just pop the cap, drop it in water, let it fizz, and enjoy. Part of the Halib Orange family.
Your computer or phone is your Flow cashier. Thanks to Fast Pay on our website. It's a quick and easy way to pay your bills anytime on any device. No need to register. Simply select the bill to be paid, enter your account number or mobile number and the amount you wish to pay, plus where to email the receipt. Then make the credit card payment. It's that easy. Fast Pay for Flow bill payments at discoverflow.co.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust to secure your investment. TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. You're always safe with us.
Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. I'm going to be taking some calls at this time to get your comment and your views on the 2021 St. Lucia general elections and what you thought. Did you predict that UWP would have lost the election? Let's take our first call for this morning. Caller, good morning. You are live.
How are you doing?
Good morning, good morning. How are you doing today?
And I am giving God thanks. I have a lot to be thankful for.
Amen.
Now, that is what I call statesmanship. You don't think so? Chastenay's behavior?
I agree. I agree, because sometimes we have these elections and you don't hear from opposition until weeks after.
Well, this one up to now has not considered. You know? And
who's that?
I tell you, we really behind, you know. Now, the major player in this election was Stevenson King, you know. You don't think so?
I wholeheartedly agree. However, many persons thought that he would have lost his seat. Did you think so?
No, I don't think so. You see, it depends.
Why not?
Take St Kitts, for example. Because the same thing happened to the Labour Party, you know. When you have the major players in a party come out of it, it erodes confidence all along the line.
Mm-hmm.
So from the time they put out Timothy and Conda followed, you knew that the party gone in.
Mm.
You understand?
Okay. Because the major players left. Okay,
in
I
that
see your
party.
point.
And then you have the same people running in the same constituency for years. That's all they know.
Aye.
So that Stevenson King had been winning that seat. So the people are loyal to him. And it better still he did not run on the opposition card. If he did, he would have lost. But because he ran independently, they couldn't say, well, oh, he gone, go back the Labour Party. When all the years, because he was once a prime minister.
Yes.
And when he came out and said what he had to say about his party, people began to take notice. And by the way, what was the turnout? Because I heard the Bajan man say that the turnout was pretty low.
Yeah, it was just a little over 50%.
You know? Hello? You understand?
Yeah,
so it make you wonder, well, why did he stay home?
Mm-hmm.
And as they said, you know, they number, a lot of, they ran new, the opposition ran new things. So they benefited when Stevenson King and another one came out to the party.
Mm-hmm.
And parties have got to, you see, sometimes people in parties, you know, and they talk to the leadership about certain faults and failures or weaknesses. Before they try to adapt, they throw them out.
Mm.
And that becomes a sword in your side, because you will say, well, if Devon say so and so, then it got to be true. because he in there a long time and he was the lead man. So, but I am quite impressed with Chastain's response. I mean, you can't say anything against it because he got a trouncing, eh? He didn't lose by 1 seat. A man who lost so heavily could still have the gall and the guts to congratulate his opponent, wish him the best. You know, because it says a lot, and I hope our leaders in the Federation learn that. It is very disheartening. And when you go about giving people, oh, well, they're going to last 3 weeks. Oh, well, they sound like Trump. You see what happened in America with Trump? Trump has left half of America in turmoil. He keeps saying, oh, well, they lost. They didn't really lose. He refused to concede, even until today. Trump refused to concede. And all he does is keep the division going. So I hope...
Just real quickly, we want to take some other callers.
Yes, yeah, but you get the point?
Yeah, I understand, definitely.
All right.
Right, thank you so much for your call. We're taking calls here on WINN FM 98.9. This is Voices. Let us see how many calls we can get in before 11:30, as we're going to be joining with our first guest at 11:30, Mr. Kamali Mannix, who is a youth parliamentarian out of Antigua and Barbuda. I think he's the president of the Youth Parliament Association of Antigua and Barbuda, and he will be giving his take on the 2021 St. Lucia general election. We have a caller on the line. Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You are live on Voices. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. We are still taking calls. We apologize for that. We have a caller on the line. Let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You are live on Voices.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, good morning. It's interesting to listen to some of our people in this country. You see, hypocrisy and crookedness, it goes along with King. I listened to your caller a while ago talking about what happened to Trump. But that same caller support Trump when Trump was attacking St Kitts and Douglas, you know. Some of these same people today, when Douglas was in power, were supporting America because it suits them. Some of the same people support Canada because it suits them. None of us could say, hey, oh no, let's support my country. I don't care who. Whoever bringing sanction on the St Kitts, no, I wouldn't support. I'm supporting my country. I'm supporting the leader. It never happened on some of these people. They was happy to push the agenda. Let's talk about St. Lucia, my brother. You see, again, some people are very forgetful. It's easy to call Douglas name in every little stupidness. But let's deal with the facts of the matter.
Yes.
Did St. Lucia have an election under state of emergency? Hello, sir.
I don't think so, but I would have to confirm. I didn't realize.
Thank you. Confirm. Did St. Lucia have an election under curfew? No.
No.
St. Lucia had 5,520-something COVID case. St. Lucia had 88 deaths with COVID. And St. Lucia was not shut down. St. Kitts last year during the election, how much COVID case we had? How much death we had? But we had a state emergency and we had curfew. Because Douglas supposed to concede when you got teeth in the thing. You pick seven nonsense king because some people believe that everybody's stupid and somebody gonna call in and try to shenanigan. Let's be real. I could recall last year during the election when we coming out of Conway's office and doing the list. People heading going to the Marriott because the police know who vehicle from who not vehicle. Sister Cynthia on the show, this on the show, that on the show. But Labour was locked down. Couldn't even go on a pasture. We see a man from the owner for Timothy Beach say he drive down to the function. And he started to talk about patches, how we get to the function, why he was not arrested because we was under state emergency and curfew. But today we're banging with chest about St. Lucia election. When we had an election last year, Why the observers didn't come in time? Because Timothy, know when was the election? And I said it last year. They could have come in 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, and quarantine. But he refused to let them come in. Because he said, who out, stay out. You ain't going to nobody home. You ain't going to nobody car. And you're going to tell me I must concede to an election. Man, the whole world see. Everybody see what happened. But if Douglas was listening, he would do what I've been saying. Take off your gloves. Call out everybody and the pastor. So when you got your function at the Marriott, Labour got a function too. But Labour went into this election play nice. If Labour was listening, they would have go to the police station and protest when they removed the police officer who was investigating Lindsey Grant and John L. Powell. But again, we play nice. If Labour was listening, they would have never taken the electoral office papers from them. What they give so late. But they play nice. There's a lot more to talk, my brother. So when people talking about St. Lucia election, St. Lucia did not have no curfew, no lockdown, and no all the sorts. The election was open, and St. Lucia, again before I go, had 5,000 something COVID case, 88 deaths. We had one no death, not so much case, but to set up an election, just like what we're doing right now, to stop us from protesting and standing up, you put a curfew. But the curfew could only last so much because once the people decide to come out, nobody could stop the people. You have a lovely day.
Right. Thank you, caller, so much for your contribution. We're going to pause the calls at this time as we're going to get ready to join with our guest at 11:30 on WINN FM 98.9. And we're going to be joining with our guest very shortly to give his take on the St. Lucia general elections. It is 11:27. Let's take this short break to say thank you to our sponsors, and we'll come back with our guest. Let's take this break.
Gift for Dad's birthday? Click. Ooh, Janice's retirement party? Click. Outfit for my girl's wedding? Click.
With TDC Airbox, you click, we ship. Register for your free U.S. mailbox today and shop all your favorite stores online. Enjoy the convenience. Free consolidation up to £10. Competitive rates. Free package tracking account with live notifications. Free delivery and, of course, excellent customer service. Visit our website at tdcairbox.com and register today. For more information, visit our offices at the C.A. Paul Industrial Site in St. Kitts and Penny's Industrial Site in Nevis. Follow us on social media at TDC Airbox. TDC Airbox. You click, we ship. Terms and conditions apply.
Cool. Energize your goals with Lucozade. Get it cool. Look under the cap. Find the code. Win it. Thousands in prizes. iPhones and TVs. Or win 30 grand US dollars for your goals. That's goals.
For a chance to win 30,000 US dollars. Purchase any Lucozade Energy promo bottle. Look under the cap and find the code to win iPhones, TVs, and free Lucozade for 30,000 US dollars to energize your goals. See website, social media, or press for details. Lucozade, taste the energy.
Your computer or phone is your Flow cashier. Thanks to Fast Pay on our website, it's a quick and easy way to pay your bills anytime on any device. No need to register. Simply select the bill to be paid, enter your account number or mobile number and the amount you wish to pay, plus where to email the receipt. Then make the credit card payment. It's that easy. Fast Pay for Flow bill payments at discoverflow.co.
Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM at 98.9. I'm your host for today's edition, Devon Cornelius. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. And the topic today is the 2021 St. Lucia general election. And joining us today, this morning, is Mr. Kamali Mannix out of Antigua and Barbuda. He is a member of the Youth Parliament Association of Antigua and Barbuda. Good morning, Mr. Mannix, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation here at WINN FM. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Devon. I am doing well, and you?
Not bad at all. I am just following social media, particularly people from St. Lucia, them giving their take on the results that many said is shocking. What are your thoughts on that?
I can agree for the most part. My original thought on the general election, I was of the opinion that I knew that the government had a certain level of unpopularity. And so I felt, and my contribution to my friends was that, okay, I can see a reduced majority in the House of Representatives, but I honestly did not expect for the government to be tossed out, and completely tossed out at that, because there's no semblance of the former party really in the parliament.
And let me ask you, what do you think contributed to the low voter turnout? Reports say it was about 50%.
Well, for the most part, one of the things that I've been cognizant of when I have assessed most of the general elections across the Caribbean that have happened in this particular season, being COVID, I think Trinidad and Tobago would have had general elections during this whole COVID crisis.
Yes.
St Kitts and Nevis would have had their own general elections during this COVID crisis. And from what I have seen from all of those general elections, you've had a low voter turnout because, of course, people are afraid, I guess, of the virus itself. And so that serves as kind of an inhibition to go anywhere. That, of course, is a very major factor that I can see. And of course, it is a recurring problem in the Caribbean. One, you have a lot of voter apathy because people feel no matter who you elect, the result is going to be the same. You have the compounding issue of some individuals just don't want to vote at all. They just don't see politics as anything for them. And the last part, which I think St. Kitts can identify with, is you do have a section of voters who are on the register in St. Lucia but might not live there. Because I myself have friends that live in Antigua who are registered to vote in St. Lucia. So by virtue of geography, they would not have been able to take part in any sort of general election.
Right, because, with the protocols in place, we saw elections taking place, St. Kitts and Nevis, TNT, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Jamaica, and a sense of overseas voters. It was there, that played a very huge factor. I want to ask you, Kamal, with two independents winning, what does that mean for non-partisan political candidates going forward?
I wouldn't say it's much of a great accomplishment. Really and truly, because of the fact that these two individuals that you're speaking of aren't necessarily independents, really, but rather party persons themselves, because the two independents that were elected, one is Mr. Stevenson King, who was once the leader of the UWP and who was Prime Minister for 4 years. And so he left the party about 2 weeks before nomination day because he was dissatisfied with the lead of the party being the former Prime Minister, Alan Chasney. The other one is Richard Frederick, who again is a seasoned and senior politician who would have left just before nomination day. And of course, so these individuals would have had their own following in their constituency. So of course, 2 weeks before a general election, you have a person who the electorate knows versus a person who the electorate does not know. And so people naturally go with what they know versus what they don't know. But I don't necessarily
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I agree with you. What I would say to that is that they had the upper hand in terms of the electorate being comfortable with them
With them.
because
That is
it's
very
not
true.
like they were completely new independent candidates. They've been with a party for many years, and so the people in that particular constituency is accustomed to this individual, and so it wasn't necessarily hard for them to
Right.
vote for
And
them.
when you look at an individual like Stevenson King, of course, as I would have mentioned before, is prime minister, and even after he has left office, his popularity, both within the party, within the constituency, and in the nation at large, has remained remarkably high. And so when he left as the candidate for the UWP, he also walked with most of the constituency branch. So the individuals who would have campaigned for UWP would have ended up campaigning for him as an independent, which would have further propelled him to be able to win the seat with almost no frustration.
Mm. I see your point, and I share your point. A caller who called in earlier shared the same sentiment as you saw here in St Kitts with the Labour Party, where you have the current Prime Minister who left but ran with a different party. But if we could stick to the general elections in St. Lucia, let me ask you, what challenges do you foresee the new administration will face, and why?
Multiple. The first one would be COVID as normal. Because of course, I think that is a problem that every country is dealing with. Trying to ensure that while we try our best to have our economies open and keep our economies functioning, keeping tourists coming so that it balances off the general economic works of the society, and also trying to keep virus levels as low as possible, trying to get vaccination numbers up. That is, of course, the most immediate challenge that any new government will face. The second issue that I think the government is going to have to deal with is overall just public finances. One, the controlling of public debt. Because one of the main criticisms of Alan Chasney's government was that they borrowed a lot of money. I think just, sometime up in this year, they had to go and borrow somewhere around $400 million, somewhere around that category, just to keep St. Lucia from what some of them describe as economic collapse. So it's, kind of stabilize the economy. And so I think the government is going to have to deal with pulling down public debt or bringing it down while trying to boost government revenue in order to stabilize the national economy. The third issue that I see them facing, which of course kind of goes back and ties into finances, is Alan Chasney's government would have started a lot of large public works projects, particularly when it comes to the reconstruction or construction of roads, bridges, and the like. And so, of course, these are projects that have been started, that some of them are, almost complete, 50% clear, 45%, whatever they are. And so for an incoming government to stop the project is going to mean like you're driving on a highway and all of a sudden it just cuts out and you're driving on gravel. It's going to be very difficult for them to stop. And so with all of the macroeconomic issues, they're still going to have to try and find a way to stabilize the economy and finish or try and edit a lot of these large public works projects.
Very interesting points, and I must say I share the same sentiment. As during the campaign, we heard of some of the promises that were made, but I think we have to be very realistic. Opposition parties would make promises, but you're making a promise not knowing how stable the public purse is. And so this administration would have to go in there and examine the fiscal strength of St. Lucia and then implement the changes that they would want to implement. If we may continue, what would you say contributed to the swing in the electorate? Because you went from having a UWP government 5 years ago to now a St. Lucia Labour Party government.
I think, okay, for me, I think the first factor that we have to consider, St. Lucia's government in the past, let's say, 15 years has been very unstable from my perspective. Because you've had a UWP under Stevenson King that lasted 5 years. They were tossed out 5 years. He was tossed out 5 years, and we all saw how that turned out. You know, they were tossed out, and now you have a contributor. The defeat of the government is, of course, one, good campaigning on the part of the Labour Party, because campaigning cannot be underestimated. From the time Labour left office in 2016, they started campaigning the day after. They never relented on the opposition to Alan Chasney's government, and they made sure that their message was persistently clear and constantly in the public space. The second thing that I think would have helped to engineer his defeat, and something that I find quite unfortunate, is for most of Alan Chasney's administration, he had to constantly attempt to do things to prove that he was St. Lucia. Because I'm sure anybody who has eyes to see or ears to hear can tell that he's not a part of the black majority population. Though he is St. Lucian by citizenship and I think by birth as well, and though he can trace his family history in St. Lucia, he doesn't look like them. He doesn't necessarily behave like them in all aspects. And so I think a huge part of politics is being personable, and persons being able to say, okay, I can see myself in my leader. I can see my leader understanding my circumstances. When an electorate begins to think, my government doesn't understand me, I don't understand my government, it wreaks nothing but havoc. And of course, the large and one of the most crucial factors would have been COVID overall. Some persons would have been dissatisfied with the way that the government dealt with the distribution of their stimulus package. Some persons would have been unsatisfied with vaccination numbers. You know, a number of things that in general people would have been unsatisfied with this whole COVID issue. But I am just praying that Philip JP's government is able to be extremely stable, so that you can actually have a government lasting more than 5 years, because I think this constant back and forth, it doesn't it does not create a sense of stability, and it doesn't benefit the party or the country at large in any way.
Right. Kamali, as we wrap up quickly, lastly, do you see the UWP remaining a viable opposition?
The UWP, I think they can be a valid opposition. One of the things I often tell people, I call Alan Chasney the 100-day Prime Minister for the reason of when he actually got elected to office, it was a situation where he came to St. Lucia, maybe not more than maybe say a year, and was able to put the party together and organize it enough that they were able to oppose the government and become a government. Because many people need to realize, you know, his years as Prime Minister is also his first years as a member of Parliament. Because he as well was elected to House of Representatives, the House of Assembly in 2016. And so I think on his own, he has, you know, the skills of an opposition leader. And of course, the party does still have its following, but it's for them to be able to unite, consolidate, rethink their strategy, and really push to properly oppose a government. And not opposing for opposing's sake, but being an opposition that is able to contribute when necessary.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right, Kamali, we are at the end of our interview, 11:45. We'll be touching base with someone else to provide their comment on this. Quickly, you have anything else that you would like to add as we wrap up?
For me, I would like to wish the government of St. Lucia the greatest of luck. Of course, these times are difficult times, and it requires a lot of tenacity and energy and endurance to be able to administer a government. And so I'm just hoping that they're able to govern as well as possible. And my bit of advice to the party in general would be to not only focus on governing, but focus on constituency development, because at the end of the day, it is the amount of seats you gather at the constituency level that enable you to govern. And so if you reject or ignore your constituents, you automatically toss yourself into a situation where you will lose government.
Right. Right. Kamali, thank you so much for accepting our invitation here at WINN FM and for providing your take 2021 St. Lucia general election. We'll keep in touch. You have a good one.
No problem. Same to you.
Okay. We'll take this short break to say a quick thank you to our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to be joining with Mr. Andre Huey, a fellow media personnel here in St. Kitts, a journalist, who will be providing his take on the 2021 St. Lucia general election. I think he's already online, but let's take this quick break to say thank you to the sponsors. And when we come back, we'll head right into the discussion.
Your computer or phone is your flow cashier. Thanks to Fast Pay on our website, it's a quick and easy way to pay your bills anytime on any device. No need to register. Simply select the bill to be paid, enter your account number or mobile number and the amount you wish to pay, plus where to email the receipt. Then make the credit card payment. It's that easy. Fast Pay for flow bill payments at discoverflow.co.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drugstore's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drugstore's curbside pickup service.
When they start them there, we attack and we take charge. Have no reaching now, we are shell down bars. Blast like a star in some Galapagos. Overdo it, we take it too far. Take charge, take charge.
We are hot gal, we set the trend. Magnum we drink for the top man them. Wine with the style, no stop from spin. Hot blend, back bend, and take charge, take charge.
Magnum tonic wine, the real star them. Take charge, take charge. Must to be 18 or older, drink responsibly.
Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM at 98.9. I'm your host for today's edition, Devon Cornelius. Today is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. And the topic for today is the 2021 St. Lucia general election. We have on the phone line Mr. Andre Huey, a journalist here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Mr. Huey, good morning, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Good morning, Devon. Thank you very much for the invitation. Pleasure to be here.
Great. So I wanted to get your take on the 2021 St. Lucia general election. The results are that the St. Lucia Labour Party won the election convincingly, and Philip J. Pierre is the new Prime Minister. What is your take on that? Did you see that coming?
No, I don't think anyone saw it coming, except for maybe the St. Lucia Labour Party. Even the predictions that some posters were making. Most commentators were expecting a much closer election. That whoever would have won by a very close margin. Far from that. And in fact, actually, that's almost a repeat of what took place 4 or 5 years ago when UWP won the victory with 11 seats. Back then, at that time, the leader of the Labour Party was Dr. Kenny Anthony. So I don't think anyone saw that coming. And I think maybe the first impressions, there were quite several things I think probably would have pointed to that kind of victory for the Labour Party. One, I think the COVID-19 situation and the hardships that have brought on St. Lucians and people generally across the world, would have certainly played a role. I mean, and I'm not pronouncing an assessment of the management of the pandemic by the St. Lucian government, but I think we can all agree that it has been challenging for any government across the world to deal with the challenges and the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I think that would certainly have had a role. And we can also look at the fact that you had 2 independent candidates who both won their seats, by the way, which is unprecedented in St. Lucian politics, and you could argue unprecedented in Caribbean politics for the most part. It's quite interesting to see that in play. One of those independent candidates, Mr. Stevenson King, who was the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, was the leader of the UWP some years back, came out swinging at the UWP. And I think that probably had a national sentiment as well. It carried a national sentiment and propelled the Labour Party into victory by default.
Mm-hmm. And now, despite the win and the landslide victory by the St. Lucia Labour Party headed by Philip J. Pierre, there are reports of a low voter turnout, about just over 50%. What do you think contributed to that?
Well, I think there are several things. I remember reading something, I'm not sure where I would have read it, but I read it, I think, last night, that St. Lucia has a history of low voter turnout, with the exception of a few elections in its history. I think, one, you would have to look at the COVID-19 situation. There are several countries that would have had elections during the pandemic, of course, here in St Kitts and Nevis. And with the exception of St Kitts and Nevis, I think just about every other country, and in St Kitts and Nevis, the voter turnout was lower than the last one, for obvious reasons, obviously, because we have overseas voting, and that wasn't a feature in last year's election. But if you look at Jamaica, for example, that had less than 50% turnout, and they've been having declining turnouts in their last few elections. Of course, St. Lucia, again, just below 50%. So, voter turnout across, there's a case of, you could argue, of the pandemic affecting that. About people not wanting to, be in a crowd or mingling with people because of the social distancing requirements and concerns. And interestingly enough, because I was looking at some of the coverage of the elections on Monday, and some of the reports suggested that people weren't really observing social distancing rules. People were, huddled together and bundled together for the most part while waiting their turn to vote. So maybe that didn't play a role, and I guess some people didn't want to be involved or come in contact with persons in that sense. There's also the issue of voter apathy, which is becoming a rife thing across the Caribbean. As I indicated, there has been, a series of low voter turnout in our elections across the Commonwealth Caribbean. And I think people are beginning to get a bit tired with, the promises that have been made by political parties when they're in opposition. And when they get to government, it's a different story. And for the most part, the two-party system, which is rife across the Caribbean, seems to have not panned out in the favor of a lot of people. And, so you're just changing one party for the next. And I guess people have just become tired of that. So you have a growing trend of voter apathy across the region. And I think St. Lucia, coupled with the COVID-19 pandemic, would have experienced that once again.
Mm-hmm. Quickly, Mr. Huey, as we begin to wrap up, what challenges do you foresee the new government will face, and why?
Well, the incoming Prime Minister-elect J. Pierre, Mr. Philip J. Pierre, would have said right after the election victory that his priority is healthcare, and of course dealing with the economic challenges and the high and mounting debt that St. Lucia faces. So that is certainly going to be the three major challenges in a pandemic economy. It would be interesting to see some of the promises that he would have made. For example, no income tax for persons earning $4,000 or less. Whether that he will be able to effect that and to do so effectively, because obviously, if you're not going to charge income tax, sounds good. It's a really nice promise, puts more money in people's pocket, especially in these hard economic times. But how are you going to finance it? Where are you going to replace the lost revenue from? It means then that you may have to increase taxes or increase fees somewhere else, or try to recoup that money elsewhere. So that would be interesting to see how he's going to fulfill that promise. So definitely, economic challenges are going to persist for the now and foreseeable future mainly because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which continues to wreak havoc across the world. Countries are having difficulty grappling with the increase in cases. We've seen our situation here in St Kitts and Nevis. We're doing well for a while, and then an outbreak happens, and we'll be going to almost a month lockdown, you could say. That has affected businesses, and certainly it will cost the government, for implementing that lockdown. So St. Lucia will have its hands full. The government of St. Lucia will have its hands full dealing with that issue and providing relief for the people. Education, obviously, is going to be a major concern because the schools, just resumed, I think, just a few months back in St. Lucia since last year. So obviously, there has been a major disruption to education. So with all of that said, the government of St. Lucia, these are challenging times ahead, and they've been given an overwhelming mandate, albeit, with a low voter turnout. they now will have to answer the call of the people.
Mm-hmm. You know, Mr. Huey, as we begin to wrap up, do you see the United Workers' Party, UWP, remaining a viable opposition?
That's a very interesting question. They certainly have far less seats than they would have had, being in power, no in opposition with, handicapped. And then, of course, dealing with a dynamic of two independent candidates, one of which, was part of your party and came out swinging. So obviously, this is, and there is talk in some quarters that the opposition leader could be Mr. Stevenson King as an independent candidate. So that would be a novelty for the St. Lucian Parliament. It's going to be difficult to say because I was speaking to a national St. Lucia yesterday, and he believes that Mr. Chastity should step down as leader of the UWP. So obviously, when you have a situation where your party was in power and then, succumbs to a landslide defeat like UWP suffered on Monday, a lot of questions have to be answered, and there's going to be an inquest as to why they would have performed so poorly. And I guess, the leadership, looking at the leadership of the party, is going to come into question. Mr. Chastity, came into the political fore, so to speak, a few years ago, came in to lead the party, then eventually becoming prime minister only for a term. So, he would certainly, he has a very monumental task of regrouping the party, doing an inquest, of course, to find out why they would have lost so badly, and see how he can pick up the pieces and navigate the party in opposition. So all those left to be seen. Of his leadership now will certainly be called into question as to how he manages the party in this difficult time.
Right, and if I may add to an earlier comment that you made in terms of the government moving forward, I think it will be a difficult transition, especially in the context of COVID-19 and ongoing vaccination, because we have seen across the Caribbean region where this has been a norm of Caribbean politicians, where when there is change in government, there is also a change in, of course, policies. There is also a change in officers of the government, and so you may see a change in chief medical officer, in health officials, in people that played a very pivotal role in the management of COVID-19 under the UWP administration. And so it's going to be, in my opinion, a difficult transition, and the government has a lot on its plate, a lot on its table to manage. As St. Lucia, just like all Caribbean countries, are facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Huey, do you have anything else that you would like to add as we begin to wrap up this discussion?
Well, all I would say is that the election results in St. Lucia certainly have been quite interesting and will have certainly put a lot of pundits wrong, because many were predicting a close election and it was nothing of the sort. But again, we've seen another government change in the Caribbean, in one of our CARICOM and OECS fellow states. And it says that, again, that, democracy is at work. If you are in power and people perceive that you're not managing the affairs of the country well, then they will change you in a heartbeat. And St. Lucia has just proven that they have spoken, and they've spoken overwhelmingly. And so it is yet to be seen what will happen. We wish the government, the new incoming government of the St. Lucia Labour Party, all the best. And we will see what happens over the next few years.
Right. And Mr. Huey, thank you so much for accepting our invitation here at WINN FM 98.9. It was indeed a pleasure. Thank you so much. You do have a good one.
You too as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You are listening to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. I've been your host for the first segment, Devon Cornelius. We're coming back for the second hour, and I'm not going to tell you who, but a newly elected member of parliament will be joining us for the second half of Voices. This individual was recently elected in the 2021 St. Lucia general elections, and they will be giving us an insight into how is it on the ground in St. Lucia, the election campaign, and what they intend to do for their constituents and ultimately for the people of St. Lucia. You want to find out more? Stay tuned to WINN FM 98.9. We'll come back after the headline news for this exclusive interview. Let's take this break for the headline news. We'll be back.
You found the sound. 98.9. WINN FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Cariboury.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International. By land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
With the WINN Headline News, I am Kevon Brown. Making the headlines, 2 young men shot dead in Newtown. A COVID-19 update in the Federation. St Kitts and Nevis Olympic athletes will soon take the Olympic stage in Tokyo. In regional news, an update on the St. Lucia elections, Budget Day in Dominica, and more on Caribbean News Roundup. Internationally, Cardinal Angelo Becciu, along with 9 others, is going to trial accused of extortion, embezzlement, and money laundering. Now, the details. Two young men were gunned down in Newtown Tuesday night, July 27th. Police say Kyle Williams and Akeem Paris, both of Catty Alley, were shot by masked assailants. Kyle Williams died on the scene. Akeem Paris was transported to the Joseph and France General Hospital, but succumbed to his injuries. A police statement is expected shortly. Health officials reported 5 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 Tuesday, pushing the number of active coronavirus cases here to 44. There are 531 recovered cases, and the total number of cases recorded since the pandemic began is 578. St. Kitts has recorded a total of 558 cases and Nevis 20. 3 people have died from COVID-19 in the Federation. A look at the vaccination numbers reveal that 58.4% of the adult population, or 19,625 people, have received both doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine. 71.8% of the target population has received the first dose of the vaccine. The National Emergency Operations Center briefing slated for later today is expected to address a number of issues, including a recent breach of quarantine by a hotel guest. Police are investigating that matter, but the individual in question tested negative for the virus. St Kitts and Nevis athletes Jason Rogers and Amaya Clark will soon take the Olympic stage in Tokyo. Media reports have captured the action and excitement in the Olympic Village. Outside of that bubble, rising numbers of COVID-19 cases in the host city Tokyo are grabbing headlines. St Kitts and Nevis Chief de Mission Lester Hanley offered this report Tuesday night, July 27th.
Greetings from the Olympic Village in Harumi, Tokyo, at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. Our team is settled in and adjusted to village life smoothly. We've adjusted physically with no lingering signs of jet lag from the travel. And the quality of life here is good. Everyone is healthy and COVID-free. We note in the US media and other articles from regional journalists much talk about COVID-19 in the Olympic Village. The truth is, there's been 16 positive cases of COVID-19 assigned to the Olympic Village. However, Tokyo 2020 identified these individuals upon arrival in Japan before entering the village, and these individuals have been isolated outside of the Olympic Village at Harumi. 132 persons contracted as contractors to the Tokyo 2020 Olympics outside of the village, which are primarily locals in Japan, have now tested positive. COVID-19 protocols and guidelines within the Olympic Village are stringent and known to all through the Olympic Games playbooks. We are tested daily through saliva antigen tests and must record our vitals in an app for the games on our phones. We are also tracked by GPS for close contact. Training is ongoing and progressing well. Today is our first practice at the Olympic Stadium. Amaya has a race on Friday morning, 11:40 a.m. local time, which would be 10:40 p.m. on Thursday at home. On Saturday, Jason will take to the track, which would be Friday at home. We are yet to receive official start lists for both events, but will update everyone at home once these lists are in hand. So, as we transition to competition, we are healthy, happy, and looking forward to good performances from both our athletes. Root for both of our athletes in their events as they do their best to represent Team St Kitts and Nevis.
Lester Hanley in Tokyo. Meanwhile, the president of the St Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee, Alfonso Bridgewater, offered congratulations to Bermuda's Fiora Duffy, who captured gold in the triathlon, her country's only gold medal in Olympic history. Bridgewater cited Duffy's accomplishment as a sign of things to come for Caribbean athletes. In regional news,
what's in store for St. Lucians as the St. Lucia Labour Party begins to set the stage to govern the country over the next 5 years? Monday's elections left SLP supporters jubilant and celebrating. While in the United Workers' Party camp, the atmosphere was palpably disappointing.
Chancellor, in his social media post via Facebook, stated, quote, "I can inform that I have called the new Prime Minister-elect to congratulate him and wish him the best."
This post-election also report now from Peter Richards.
Even for the seasoned political observers, the margin of victory by the St. Lucia Labour Party in Monday's general election was not predicted. Many had raised the possibility of a cliffhanger and even a coalition administration being formed, especially as the St. Lucia Labour Party had decided against fielding candidates in all but 2 of the 17 seats at stake in the parliament. In the end, the SLP won 13 seats, a comfortable margin, erasing the headache that would have most probably prevailed had it to rely on the votes of the 2 independent candidates, the former Prime Minister Stephenson King and the controversial and colourful attorney Richard Frederick. Philip J. Pierre has long been groomed to take over the leadership of the country, having served as deputy to then Prime Minister Dr. Kennedy Anthony in the Labour Party administration of 2011 to 2016. His policies now will determine how far into the future his administration will go, given the socio-economic problems will continue as the island grapples with the impact of the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic, and its effect on the economy. Pierre has indicated that his priority will be on education, health, and what he terms the young economy. He will need the young people to buy into his policies because 5 years from now, they too will decide his fate. He has promised a government of inclusion, and as an economist, accountant, he will have to know just how far he must go to fulfill the promises contained in the manifesto of the party that had campaigned under the theme, Putting People First. For his part, the outgoing Prime Minister Alan Chastanet will have much to think about, more so whether or not he intends to remain at the head of a party that has done so badly in the polls. The SLP had successfully made Chastanet the target of the campaign, and while he may have held on to his Mikutsao seat, he would no doubt be contemplating what it could have been had the UWP held on to some of its traditional stronghold seats. In a statement, Chastanet said that he was glad to have served as Prime Minister and that the policies and programs put forward by his administration will survive going forward. The question now, will Pierre look to continue them or heed the advice of the population that has given him such an overwhelming victory? This is Peter Richards for OSA Radio.
The leader of the United Progressive Party in Antigua, Harold Lovell, has congratulated the St. Lucia Labour Party and its leader, Philip J. Pierre, on their election victory Monday. Lovell hopes that the UPP too will be successful at the next Antigua and Barbuda general elections.
Well, I'd like to take the opportunity to offer congratulations to Philip J. Pierre. I have known Philip for a long time. In fact, when I was appointed Minister of Tourism in 2004, I had a chance to work closely with him. We had an excellent relationship, and since then we have remained friends. So I'm very happy for the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, and I wish to take this opportunity to offer him hearty congratulations.
Lovell says it seems that St. Lucian voters stuffed their frustration into the ballot boxes. He believes that residents in Antigua and Barbuda will use that same method to vote out the incumbent party.
The frustration in Antigua, everyone can see it, everyone can feel it. And I have no doubt that when the time comes in Antigua, the people of Antigua and Barbuda will reject the Antigua Labour Party. The Labour Party, during this entire pandemic, has proved itself to be incompetent and incapable of bringing real relief to the people through any form of stimulus package or a genuine package of relief to those who are suffering. Many people have been badly affected, and the frustration with the Antigua Labour Party, I think everybody can feel it and everybody can see it. So I have no doubt that when the time comes, the people of Antigua and Barbuda will reject the Antigua Labour Party.
UPP's Harold Lovell. He was speaking to Observer Radio. Today's budget day in Dominica. Prime Minister Roosevelt's carriage is presenting a $990 million budget that's being described as a tax-free budget. This report was carried on state-owned DBS Radio on the station's Evening News Tuesday.
Mr. Skerritt says the 2020-2021 national budget is one which should be welcomed and applauded by Dominicans.
Every time the government prepares the budget estimates, there's always a justification for either introduction of a new tax or an increase in taxation. But we have, as a government, gradually reduced taxation in Dominica, and we have been able to implement a number of policies and programs and projects without imposing any new taxes on our people. I mean, here it is representing the Parliament, the international airport. I'm going to ask any Dominican public to pay any taxes in respect to the construction of the airport, because we're not contracting alone. You know, we're using the CBI program in a very responsible, pragmatic way to advance our development. So there'll be no new taxes in the budget. As a matter of fact, there'll be some concessions given to various sectors of the economy. And I know the middle class, especially the nouveau middle class in Dominica, always asking what's the budget for them and so on. There are a number of things in this budget would benefit people, the youth, and it would be a budget, I believe, if I'm going to say so with the greatest of humility, that Dominicans would certainly welcome and applaud and see as a positive set of policies and programs and projects that we believe can prepare us for the many opportunities which are ahead of us, notwithstanding the current challenges brought on by COVID-19.
Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness says investor confidence shows that the country is doing well with a bright future in the short term and long term.
As a government, we take heart that the investors, who are very important economic beings in our ecosystem, that they see a bright future, not just in the short term, but in the long term. And it means that the policy mix that we have as a government aligns with the long-term perspectives and expectations of the investors.
However, the opposition leader, Mark Golding, is pointing to what it sees as the shortcomings of the Holness administration, as CVM News reports.
Golding says with the sliding dollar, the price hikes in basic needs, and the low minimum wage, the government refuses to remove the GCT off tablets.
The PNP has called for the GCT removal on tablets and other devices for learning to ease the burden on parents who wish to provide each child with this essential learning tool. The government has failed to act.
Golding says a $10,000 compassionate grant is simply not enough. Additionally, he compares the vaccination progress to that of Haiti and believes the reopening of the country is premature.
The health sector is also in crisis. Jamaica's COVID vaccination performance is appallingly bad, worse than every other country in the Western Hemisphere other than our neighbor Haiti. And we know the crisis that they are confronting.
Golding points out another concern, saying regardless of the spikes in the COVID cases and hospitalization, Western Jamaica is without a properly functional hospital.
The beleaguered project demonstrates mismanagement of monumental proportions. The minister, however, remains in charge, and no one has been held to account.
And that's the Caribbean News Roundup for today, Wednesday, July 28. I'm Ken Richards. Thanks for listening.
We now bring you these international reports.
While waiting for deliveries of the vaccine to arrive, Bhutan was building an army. 22,000 volunteers called DESIPs, who raised awareness, carried out screenings, and quickly adapted to the process of cold chain storage.
As a frontliner, I think it's my responsibility to be vaccinated, and also because His Majesty has done so much for us, so we feel it is our responsibility as a citizen.
When it was time to give everyone their second shots, the DESIPs got to work, and the results were astounding.
Vaccinations began on the 20th, and people have cooperated. A lot of people turned up on day 1, day 2, day 3, and by day 4, we had achieved our target.
In just 7 days, Bhutan administered nearly 500,000 shots and fully vaccinated 90% of its adult population. For older people and others unable to walk to vaccination sites, health officials went door to door.
I think we will be able to prevent the transmission of the COVID-19, which is our main goal, and probably we expect that herd immunity would be established in the country, and now country can open slowly.
King Jigme Gesar Nahjel Wangchuk has spent the last year hiking to remote villages, at times joined by Prime Minister Lothai Sring, who's a medical doctor.
And if there's anything that I hope the world can learn is that a country like Bhutan, with very few doctors, very few nurses, but a really committed king and leadership in the government, mobilizing society, it's not impossible to vaccinate the whole country.
Bhutan is encouraging people to mix and match vaccines. The first round of its national rollout was donated by India. The U.S. chipped in 500,000 doses of Moderna for the second.
I feel like the officials might have researched on this, and without research they might not have decided to do mix and match. So I trust them, so that's why I decided to take the Moderna vaccine.
It may be small, but the tiny kingdom has provided a lesson in how to tackle a common problem at a faster pace than elsewhere. Andrew Chappelle, Al Jazeera.
What has the Vatican, the heart of the Roman Catholic Church, and Chelsea, one of the most exclusive and desirable parts of London, got in common? It isn't religion, it's money, lots of it. Then add to that murky deals, extortion and fraud revolving around a central figure, not a godfather, a Catholic cardinal, Angelo Becciu. He was a close advisor to Pope Francis, who fired him last year, accusing him of nepotism. But this scandal is far bigger than favours for friends and family. Becciu and 9 others face charges including embezzlement, extortion, money laundering and abuse of office. It was here in London's upmarket Chelsea that Becciu became involved, it's alleged, with a major investment of $412 million in this real estate. But the church money was wasted because of a scam and overvaluations. Prosecutors say 2 London-based Italian financiers received vast sums of money from the Vatican for reckless speculative investments. The former Vatican financial regulator, Swiss lawyer René Brulhart, was also involved. Becciu is said to have been involved in other fraudulent schemes too, much of it using money donated by the Catholic faithful. Pope Francis has made reforms in the Vatican's justice system. This trial is the first to see a cardinal indicted by criminal prosecutors. Other churchmen used to be in judgment.
He was one of the most powerful figures in the Vatican, and for him now to be facing trial is really extraordinary. It is, I think, a sign of the seriousness with which Pope Francis has taken the task of cleaning up Vatican finances.
Becciu, who had once considered becoming a candidate for the papacy, denies all charges and says he's the victim of a Vatican conspiracy. Andrew Simmons, Al Jazeera.
You were listening to the WINN FM headline news on 98.9. Our top stories were: 2 young men shot dead in Newtown, a COVID-19 update in the Federation, St Kitts and Nevis Olympic athletes will soon take the Olympic stage in Tokyo. In regional news, an update on the St. Lucia elections, Budget Day in Dominica, and more on Caribbean News Roundup. Internationally, Cardinal Angelo Becciu, along with 9 others, is going to trial accused of extortion, embezzlement, and money laundering. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINN FM headline news. The headline news was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs. And make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International. By land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tag Specials from July 15 through 28. 32-ounce Gatorade, just $4.99. Hawaiian Punch drinks, $11.99. Danone and Activia yogurts, 4 packs, fit and light, just $12.99. Cole's garlic bread, toast, $12.99. Granola bars, just $10.99 per pack. Pastaroni or rice-a-roni, just $4.99. And now, our very low weekly value deals. Essential Everyday and IGA Honey Beer, $12.99. Breyers Ice Cream, 48 ounces, just $20.99. Colgate Toothpaste, $9.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart. Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí a Value Mart.
Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM 98.1235, and I am your host for the second half, Devon Cornelius. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this edition of Voices. We are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, we are live on Twitch, and we are live on Periscope. You can also catch us there. So today's discussion is being centered around the 2021 St. Lucia general election that was held there on Monday, July 26, 2021, and we saw the St. Lucia Labour Party emerging victorious, party which is headed by Philip J. Pierre. It came as a shock to many, and we heard from Alan Chastanet, former Prime Minister and leader of the United Workers' Party, saying that it came as a shock to him as well, as he did not anticipate these results. Many people were of the opinion that the government would have stayed in office, and many others were of the opinion that there would have been a change. We have seen a change in government there in St. Lucia. We're going to be joining shortly with Mr. Ernest Hilaire out of St. Lucia, a member of the St. Lucia Labour Party, who won a seat in the recent general elections there. He will be joining us quickly via call, and so we hope to connect with him, and he will be giving us an insight into the general elections that were held there, and how was it on the ground in terms of campaigning, and of course in the context of the COVID-19 restrictions and protocols and all of that. As you know, just like other countries in the Caribbean, St. Lucia is facing the COVID-19 pandemic shortly. While we wait for him, we'll take just a few calls, and we are going to take your comments and your views on the elections that were held there, and get your views as what you think. Do you think it's going to be a hard time for the government of St. Lucia going forward in terms of a smooth transition and in terms of achieving some of the things that they want to achieve? We have a caller on. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on Voices.
Greetings. Firstly, we want to say thanks for the sharings in the first half of the program. Let's start with sports. We're echoing congrats to Bermuda, and we wish others from the region all the best in the ongoing sporting arena. St Kitts and Nevis, of course. We wish you goal also, brother watchers. We in our midst we heard whole heap of gunshots, and we heard that lives were lost. We want to extend condolences to families and friends, and wish us all the best going forward concerning the killing, the gun crimes, St. Lucia, we want to extend the congrats to the winners and wish them all the best going forward. The voter turnout, as it has been in other parts of the region, we heard sounds being given towards the COVID-19 in our midst and other reasons for that. We want to give another spin on top of that in terms of people's disillusion, people's getting fed up with the Westminster-style system, especially when wrong faces get into right places, decision-making places, and things don't always be right for the masses. That is part of it also, and we don't know if it will reach to a point where people just ignore the system altogether. People are saying we have come a long way, we have fought hard to be part of this one man, one vote, and we should rally with it. But on the grounds, it's a different thing when people are not getting what they're looking for out of the system, the services. When it is not forthcoming, it's another thing, We know that you are soon to join someone on the ground in St. Lucia. We have other things we'd like to say, but let us give space for that. Thanksgiving for allowing us to share our views. Blessed love.
Right, caller, thank you so much for your contribution to this program. We're standing by for Mr. Ernest Haley. He was just on the call. We're going to try to get him back as soon as possible for him to give his piece on the St. Lucia general elections there. In the meantime, let us take a quick break to say thank you to our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to begin this conversation. Let's take this break. We'll be right back.
Run to Hosford's Furniture and Appliances in Ashley Furniture Home Store now and get a chance to win free groceries for 1 year. By popular demand, Cashback is back, but this time Cashback is back with more quality appliances, more great prices and fantastic deals, more of Hosford's fabulous FlexPay payment plan, and more free groceries. A whole year of free groceries. Come to Hosford's Furniture and Appliances in Ashley Furniture Home Store today and get absolutely free groceries with every higher purchase and a chance to win free groceries for 1 year. Great deals on furniture and appliances. Get cash back for free groceries with FlexPay higher purchase and a chance to win free groceries for 1 year with every $500 spent. All great reasons to shop at Hosford's Furniture and Appliances in Ashley Furniture Home Store this coupon season. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Here are your Horsford's Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tag specials from July 15 through 28. 32-ounce Gatorade, just $4.99. Hawaiian Punch drinks, $11.99. Dannon and Activia yogurts, 4 packs, fit and light, just $12.99. Cole's garlic bread, toast, $12.99. Granola bars, just $10.99 per pack. Pastaroni or rice-a-roni, just $4.99. And now, our very low weekly value deals. Essential Everyday and IGA Honey Beer, $12.99. Breyers Ice Cream, 48 ounces, just $20.99. Colgate Toothpaste, $9.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart. Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí a Value Mart.
back. Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. We have on the line Mr. Hillier. He just joined us, and quickly as we connect with him, and he will be giving us an insight as to how it was on the ground there in St. Lucia with the general election, and we are going to hear from him how it was, the experience, and what he hopes to achieve as a member of Parliament. Good afternoon, Mr. Hillier, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation here at WINN FM 98.9. Are you hearing me well?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Good afternoon, Mr. Hillier. Firstly, allow me to, on behalf of all of us here at WINN FM 98.9, to express our warm congratulations on your recent victory, as well as the victory of the St. Lucia Labour Party following the general elections there on Monday. Your well-deserved victory, and let me say a shocking victory as well. And we wish you the very best in your future endeavors. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Hillier, what was the campaign like in the context of COVID-19 restrictions?
Well, I think it was not the traditional, the usual kind of campaign, which is built around mass mobilization of people. As you know, in campaigns, political parties look forward to rallies, to launching of candidates and mass activities as a means of mobilizing their people and getting people excited and certainly interested in going out to vote. And political parties everywhere, they do the concerts and all those things. This was missing in this campaign. We were not allowed to have public political meetings until the last 2 weeks, when the date was actually announced. So you missed all those every Sunday, massive mobilization, trekking to one constituency to have some launching ceremony or to have some mass activities. That was totally absent. We were not allowed to have town hall meetings. So you couldn't even say you're having a meeting in a particular community and invite all the residents to come to the meeting. You couldn't do that. So you didn't have mass activities. You did not have, the public meetings, and you did not have the town hall meetings. So you were now restricted to doing your house to house, and of course to do the virtual meetings. Now, any politician will tell you the house to house knocking on doors is the basic fundamental practice of a politician. And if you cannot do that and you do not master that art, then you have some real challenges in political life in the Caribbean, and I think maybe the world over. So it really forced us as politicians to go back to the basic practice of meeting people at their homes and talking to them and exchanging with them. So whereas we were missing, because of COVID, the mass activities, the hype and all that grand there, we now forced to do the basic thing of meeting people and talking to them and touching base with them. And also to use the virtual. We had never used a digital space as much as we had to use this time, including having virtual meetings. Imagine we have in St. Lucia what we have the market in Castries, which is like the staging ground of the Labour Party. So having a meeting on the market steps, go back to the 1930s when the Labour movement started and the Labour Party was launched in 1951. We've always had our activities. So it's called like the University of the People. We had to imagine having a market steps meeting virtually. So it was quite an experience for candidates to be standing on this platform with a background of the market steps behind them and pretending they're speaking to a crowd. And I remember the first time I did it, it was a little strange because there was no crowd, and you had to put in all the clapping and all the feed with all the live noises, which would not really exist then. So it was quite an experience. In the last 2 weeks, once the date was announced, we were then allowed to have public meetings, but under COVID protocols. So you had to try and keep people apart. You had to be sanitizing the mic, and you had to be, all those little protocols, which made it a little weird because, in the Caribbean, political is a lot of theater, a lot of drama and, excitement. But people were so hungry to come out because they had been indoors for so long, politics, simmering around them. And finally, they got a chance to go to a few public meetings. But still, we did not have the national meetings and the national rallies, whatnot. But at least we allowed town hall meetings and public meetings in the last 2 weeks. So for me, it was a very unusual election campaign, but we certainly had to adapt quickly and to make sure we achieved the fundamental issue, which is connecting with the people and exciting them about voting.
Great. Mr. Hewlett, what were some of the major concerns during the campaign?
In terms of what?
In terms of, going out, walking throughout the constituency, what were some of the cries of the people within the constituency and St. Lucia by extension?
Well, at the national level, people were very concerned with COVID management. They felt the government had not shown sufficient empathy and sensitivity towards the sufferings that they had during the COVID pandemic. This government, well, the last government, were very heavy on making sure that big business and the hotels were able to operate and to pursue their business when the population felt they should put the people first, that we really had to look after our people first before we were looking after the big resorts and the big business. In fact, so much so that our theme became putting you first, because that was the common cry of our population. And we borrowed over $600 million for COVID response, and less than 8 million of the 600 million actually went to support for the population in a direct way. So people were like, seriously, we're suffering, we need this, we need that, and when so much money being borrowed. Then there was the issue of healthcare. Healthcare in St. Lucia is a major issue. The last Labour Party administration had not completed the journey. It worked severely against us in 2016 elections. This government had 5 years and it got worse. So then you can imagine the backlash of the population in relation to, healthcare. And this is a challenge that this government, our government, will have to face. We need to immediately satisfy people as it relates to healthcare. Then there was crime. There's a famous quote by Alan Chasney that Kenny could not do it and he will do it, which is to reduce the crime rate. It exploded under the United Workers' Party. Exploded, literally. I mean, your homicides moved from about 30 under the Labour Party to the 60s under this government. There's a perennial issue of unemployment and jobs, especially for young people, which haunts every government today. We look at it, there were about 4 core issues that really resonated. And of course, at the constituency level, constituencies like ours, that of the opposition, the government deliberately sought to make sure that nothing happened in our constituencies. And their thinking was on what we call the Belrose Doctrine, because it was espoused by one of their candidates who was then the Minister of Social Equity, whatnot, that if your constituency did not vote for the United Workers' Party, you have no right to get anything. Now, they were banking on the fact that if they did nothing in our constituencies, the constituents would rise against us for not doing anything. And it backfired because people saw through it and saw that nothing was happening at the official governmental level. And it did not break the 6 Labour Party constituencies we had then. So at the national level, there were 4 big core issues. At the constituency level, it was really about infrastructure, the footpaths, the steps, the retaining walls, the road repairs. And this government spent hundreds of millions of dollars on road repair, but almost every single road was in their constituencies. I have some of the worst roads in the country in my constituency, and the neighboring constituency of Joseph have some of the best roads in St. Lucia, and that was just too glaring for the people.
Mr. Haley, as we continue quickly, what do you hope to achieve for your constituents and by extension, the people of St. Lucia?
Well, first of all, it's my constituents. We have some very challenging communities, in my constituency, some real social and economic issues to deal with. So for me, it's really about focusing on some of those issues and how I can bring some kind of social development for the people of my constituency, from housing, community infrastructure, unemployment, skills training. Some of those issues are really prevalent that need to be addressed. Land ownership, we'll be moving very quickly on some of those issues. The whole issue of unemployment, as I said, is a very serious one. But we also have a lot of young men, in particular young women, that want their creative talents to be elevated and to become sources of livelihood of income for them. And we've spoken a lot about the creative industries and the youth economy, to be able to say to the young people, let us transform your hobbies into sustainable livelihoods. And we will be focusing very heavily on this. In terms of St. Lucia at a broader level, we need to have a very quick assessment of the state of finances in the country. I mean, this government borrowed almost $1.6 billion in the last 5 years. We need to find out where we are in terms of debt, where we are in terms of revenue, and how best we can stabilize the economic situation in the country, especially in the context of COVID. We need to focus on COVID responses, making sure that our people are better cared for, better catered for. At the same time, we also need to jumpstart certain sectors. It's not all about the big resorts in the tourism industry, but a lot of the small businesses that are really the backbone of life in our islands can get a kickstart. And we've already announced that we'll be making a line of credit of $25 million for some of those businesses to get some, cash flow to get their businesses back on track. The healthcare will be a frightening reality for us to face as soon as we officially take office next week. We have to start addressing it. We have some major projects we need to review. The airport, for example, our airport has been upgraded at a cost of about 750 million EC dollars. I mean, this is, for us, was just totally unacceptable. And this government insisted on borrowing that kind of money to upgrade the airport, not to build a new one, just to upgrade it. So we need to review this. There are quite a few projects we need to review, not with a view to stopping them and anything like that, but ensuring that the agreements made are in the best interest of St. Lucia. So yes, we have quite a lot on our plate immediately.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Now, how difficult do you see it will be in terms of achieving some of these projects in the context of COVID-19 and the economic fallout brought on by COVID-19? What are some of the plans briefly you have for community development and job opportunities?
I mean, if you start and again, we have to do the rapid assessment to find out exactly what the true state of affairs. But if you take community development and some of those community projects, we have what we call the constituency development program. And every year there is an allocation for it. But it had been so skewed in its disbursement, it has strangled some constituencies. So immediately we need to have a more fair distribution of the resources. And all constituencies that have gotten no community development projects in the last 5 years to start getting some immediately, creating employment, creating some well-being and improvement in livelihoods for people in the constituency. We need to do that immediately. We need to get some young people and constituents working. Again, this government had made it very clear that they were not spending money. We had what was called the NICE program, and they fired everybody in the NICE program. And for us, the NICE program is a critical component of ensuring people who are not generally employable to give them some sustainable livelihoods. But those people cannot find jobs otherwise, or they find low-paying jobs elsewhere. So we need to immediately focus on that. And there are monies available that can, what you have to do is repurpose some of those monies and make sure we can kickstart certain sectors and kickstart certain projects. And the projects I spoke about, there are some governmental projects that ongoing right now that we, like I said, we're not stopping them. We just need to review them and ensure they're best suited for the people. But in the short term, we need to be able to get some economic activity going for the average man so he can actually be able to sustain himself.
Mm-hmm. As we begin to wrap up quickly, Mr. Hillier, I know the swearing ceremony will be taking place shortly, and other members of Parliament will be assigned different portfolios. What ministry or ministries do you anticipate that you'll get?
Well, I mean, today's ceremony is really for the Prime Minister. The cabinet ministers will be sworn in on Monday.
Okay.
Of course, you would appreciate that the Prime Minister will make the announcement of portfolios, and I will receive my portfolio then. And, I cannot really speculate as to what his intentions are.
As we begin to wrap up, do you have anything else that you would like to share with our audience at this time?
Well, I think so as the Labour Party, we have to say to persons all throughout the Caribbean who have been following the campaign in St. Lucia and have expressed support for our philosophical and ideological positions on national development as well as regional development, that we're very appreciative of the support and the encouragement given to us. I think St. Lucia on the regional stage did not live up to the kind of performances and contributions that we are accustomed to. We have a very proud record in the OECS and the Caribbean in terms of our posturing in foreign policy. There were quite a lot that happened in terms of our positioning towards Cuba, towards Venezuela, towards even the United States. Some of their support that they were given to the opposition in Venezuela, that the Lima Group and our participation in it, those things will be reviewed. Our own commitment to regional integration is quite deep, and it goes way back to the West Indies Federation, where the Deputy Prime Minister was a St. Lucian from the St. Lucia Labour Party. So we will see a resurgence of the role and participation of St. Lucia in regional endeavors and the promotion of regionalism. Even for me, for my own part, I grew up in the student movement, part of the regional student movement, the youth movement. I was president of the Caribbean Federation of Youth, and even my own involvement in cricket is one. I'm an offspring of the region, and I believe in the regional, endeavors and support for it. So you will find in the Labour Party government very strong support for regional integration and regionalism. So certainly to our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts, you will see in our government a serious commitment to the promotion of regionalism.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Mr. Hillier, for accepting our invitation here on WINN FM 98.9. We're so sorry we're going to have to begin wrapping up this discussion, as we will be joining with someone else to give their take on the general elections there. We hope to have you back in the near future, and as you continue your journey into a member of parliament and ultimately as a minister of government. And again, we congratulate you on your win, and we also congratulate the St. Lucia Labour Party. Thank you so much, and we wish you God's speed.
Thank you very much.
You have a good one. You are listening to Mr. Ernest Hillier out of St. Lucia, a recent member of parliament, recently elected on the St. Lucia Labour Party ticket. And in the country's general elections on Monday, July 26, 2021, a quick exclusive interview. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Hillier, for that. We will take this short break and we will come back. We're going to be on the phone with Kenyatta Tyson. He is a law and political science student of the University of the West Indies, and he will be giving his take on the 2021 St. Lucia general elections. Let's take this break and we'll be right back.
Run to Hosford's Furniture and Appliances in Ashley Furniture Home Store now and get a chance to win free groceries for 1 year. By popular demand, Cashback is back. But this time, Cashback is back with more quality appliances, more great prices and fantastic deals, more of Hosford's fabulous FlexPay payment plan, and more free groceries. A whole year of free groceries. Come to Hosford's Furniture and Appliances in Ashley Furniture Home Store today and get absolutely free groceries with every higher purchase and a chance to win free groceries for 1 year. Great deals on furniture and appliances. Get cash back for free groceries with FlexPay higher purchase and a chance to win free groceries for 1 year with every $500 spent. All great reasons to shop at Hosford's Furniture and Appliances in Ashley Furniture Home Store this coupon season. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Welcome back to Voices on WINN FM 98.9. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 1 here in our studios, and you're listening to Voices. I'm your host for today, Yvonne Cornelius. Let me say that today's focus is on the 2021 St. Lucia general elections that were held there on Monday, July 26, 2021, which resulted in the St. Lucia Labour Party emerging victorious with Prime Minister-elect Philip J. as its leader. We have on the phone line with us this afternoon Mr. Kenyatta Tyson, who is a law and science student of the University of the West Indies. Good afternoon, Mr. Tyson, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation here at WINN FM.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So I want to get your take on the 2021 general election that was held there in St. Lucia. I realized that you were following very closely, as I must admit I did get some of my updates from your WhatsApp status. So I realized you were definitely following the general elections there. If I can get briefly your feedback on the election, is this something that you expected, the outcome? Did you expect that the SLP party won the elections?
Yes, I did expect that the Lucia Labour Party would be victorious. But I did not expect that they would, give such a defeat to the WP. And it's really shocking, really. Everybody is shocked at it. Some happy, some sad, but it's really shocking nonetheless.
I agree with you. Some political pollsters were of the opinion that it will be a neck-to-neck battle where they would win by small margins, but we're seeing, based on the results, we're seeing where in constituencies they won by 3, 4, 5, 6, 700, thousands. And so it was indeed a landslide victory for the St. Lucia Labour Party. What do you think contributed to the low voter turnout, as they are reporting that just over 50% turned out to the polls on Monday?
Well, St. Lucia became an independent country in 1979. And since then, they've had 11 general elections. 10 of those elections, the voter turnout has always been between 50 and 56%. The one election where the voter turnout was 61% was in 1997, when the country voted overwhelmingly for Dr. Kenny Anthony and the Labour Party. So a 51% voter turnout in Monday's election is not unusual for St. Lucia. The pandemic has effect on the voter turnout? Yes, possibly, because it has affected almost every election since the pandemic. But it has not been reflected in the statistics. But what I just want to point out, however, is that the primary issue or the concern currently is not really the low voter turnout, but the number of rejected ballots. There were 1,694 ballots that were rejected, and this is something that the persons on the floor in St. Lucia are trying to figure out, why persons might have rejected their ballots. We here in St. Kitts all know too well how contentious that can be. But overall, I do not want to say really that it is a low voter turnout, but something that is standard in St. Lucia. Other commentators before me would have spoken to the apathy, and yes, that is true. The younger generation, all across the Caribbean, they generally do not like the exercise of voting. They like the theatrics, they like the motorcades, they like the handouts, the rallies, the parties, they love that. But the actual exercise of voting, they are not too fond of that. And that is a trend that we will continue seeing as time progresses.
Right. You know, as if I may add to that, I understand that as it is in St. Lucia, you know, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, firstly, when you go to register, well, you have to go to register. So when I expressed my interest in becoming a registered voter, I had to export other identification, head to the electoral office to register to vote. I understand that in St. Lucia, that is not the case. You are automatically registered to vote, whereas as soon as you turn 18, your name is added to the national identification list. And so you are automatically placed on the voters list. And so you have a situation where the voters list is overwhelming, but not necessarily because people wanted to vote, but because it's an automatic process where your name is just placed there as a registered voter, whereas here in St. Kitts and Nevis and neighboring islands like Antigua, you have to go and say, look, I want to vote. So maybe that too is a part of why people have not been showing interest in voting. If we may continue, Mr. Tyson, with two independents winning for non-partisan political candidates going forward?
Well, this is a very interesting question. You see, both candidates, both of the independent candidates, have a long political history. Stephenson King was St. Lucia's sixth Prime Minister. He served from 2007 to 2011, I think it was. He was an MP in the 80s until 97, and again from 2006 until now. Now, the people of Castries North, that is his constituency, the people of Castries North respect Stephenson King very much. And he likewise has worked tirelessly for the development of the constituency. And so the people really love and embrace him, not only as a candidate, but also as a person. And in the contemporary Caribbean, people, especially young people, they tend to vote for candidate and not party. And this is a very good example with Stephenson King, where the love of a candidate supersedes one's loyalty to a political party. Now, as it pertains to Richard Frederick, he was a former MP as well as a former minister on the United Workers' Party Prime Minister John Compton. Well, he became a big critic of Alan Shastany due to the fact that he did not want to work with Alan Shastany. He believed that Alan Shastany, was not really a politician. He was looking for something else. So the two of them could not, really work together. But Richard Frederick maintained his presence in the constituency. He, do what a normal member of parliament would do, even though he was not elected. And so really and truly, the constituents of Castries Central, that is his constituency, Castries Central, really had no problem in supporting Richard Frederick, relative that he nominated himself as a candidate for the election. So what I would really want to say is that independents that are elected in the Caribbean usually are former or long-standing members of parliament who are highly influential and charismatic. And that is what we saw in Stephenson King and Richard Frederick. And so because of the influence, because of the charisma, people really have no problem supporting them. So all in all, Monday's elections have not changed the status quo that independent candidates still have difficulty in being successful in our two-party political system. I just want to quickly add that there was a third party, the National Green Party in St. Lucia, and they contested 8 of the 17 seats. 8 of the 17 seats. And the votes were something like this: 16, 17, 21. So you understand really that it had to be something with Stephenson King and Richard Frederick. So once I assume they have a long history serving the people, once they were as an independent, then they possibly can win.
Mm-hmm. If we may continue, Mr. Tyson, what challenges do you foresee the new administration will face, and why?
Well, in the case incoming administration, they have a Herculean task ahead of them. In every election since 2001, St. Lucians have voted out the ruling party. I sometimes refer to it as a seesaw dynamic. And that really affects the stability of the country because there are no real economic or any long-term development in St. Lucia. And so what you have is that the ruling party only implements short-term mandates such as road paving or building a few houses, things that you can see, so that at the end of the 5-year period, they can point and say, I did this, I did that. But the people really say, but how did this and that? How did the road improve my livelihood? These are some of the questions that Lucians ask every election. And so really, there's a very good example actually in St. Lucia of a hospital, St. Jude's Hospital, which has been under construction since 2004. And every administration that has come in since 2004 has stopped the project or broke down the structure to rebuild again. So this really speaks to the instability that is currently plaguing St. Lucia. The health care of St. Lucia, Honorable Hillier spoke to that. He said that that is something that the incoming administration has to look at very seriously because the health care is crippling down there. On my visit to St. Lucia, the last visit I had to St. Lucia, I had a reason to visit the hospital and it was atrocious. So it's just to show you that they have a lot of work to do, and I'm really hoping that they buckle on themselves early and get the work going. St. Lucia, again, crime, and they also focus a lot on agriculture. They really have to make a decision on whether that is sustainable for the economy, but again, that is something that we'll have to look and see.
Right. Tyson, as we continue, as a political science student, a law and political science student, what would you say contributed to the swing in the electorate? I mean, you went from having a UWP administration that had 11 seats in a 17-seat parliament to now only having 2.
Right. Well, Alan Shastany and his government has been the subject of many accusations of corruption and cronyism over the last 5 years. And the opposition's strategic attack on the ministers really resonated with the people. I mean, Stephen King left the UWP a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned the corruption that was happening in government. And so Mr. King really solidified in the minds of the electorate that the UWP had to be voted out of office. The strategy of the Labour Party in St. Lucia was to basically attack the Prime Minister and turn the electorate against him. Now, once that was successful, then the people would want him out of government, and the only way to get that done was to get rid of the party itself by voting against the candidate. And we can see that it paid off. Alan Shastany actually was a businessman before he got into politics. So he had no real connection to people in a journey type of way, what is normal of a politician. And so what is funny is that Donald Trump as well as Alan Shastany, they were fresh in politics. When Donald Trump became president, he was, a businessman, and he ended up being a one-term president. And so too was Alan Shastany, a one-term prime minister, because they ran the country as if they were operating their business. And it is not the same. And so what I want to point out here as well is that Alan Shastany made an error by not calling the elections during the early stages of COVID-19, of the pandemic. If the other results of the other carbon elections that took place over the last year are indicative, it would suggest that in times of crisis, people seem to generally prefer to maintain the government in power for some short-term stability. Had Alan Shastany called the elections last year, like St Kitts did, he would have increased his chances of winning the election. But at this stage, where there's some sense of normalcy in the country, the people are now able to analyze and plan ahead. And it is apparent that the United Workers' Party and Alan Shastany was perhaps a liability, and so they were voted out.
Right. As we begin to wrap up this interesting conversation, lastly, do you see the United Workers' Party remaining a viable opposition now that they only have 2 seats?
Well, the United Workers' Party will always remain a major political party. I don't think there are any doubts on that. However, when it comes to their functioning as an opposition, then that is where the doubts can start. The ultimate role of the opposition is to question the government of the day and hold them accountable. And I mean, we would really have to see how Alan Shastany and his one partner is in Parliament. But Alan Shastany would not have the support of other members of Parliament, people like Guy Joseph, who he relied on heavily during the last 5 years and during his first term as a member of Parliament. He doesn't have these people, and Gail Riverberts as well, who lost her seat. He doesn't have these people to back him up. And so it would be very interesting to see how he fares as a solo person, and I say solo deliberately, as a solo person in Parliament, and how he can really stand up to the supermajority of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And again, it would be interesting to see where in the parliamentary benches that Richard Frederick and Stephenson King sit. That is something that we really have to look at.
Right. You know, I definitely agree with you there. I must add to that the results came as a shock, as Alan Shastany himself stated. It came as a shock to me that it's not that I did not expect the St. Lucia Labour Party to win, it's just that I did not expect such an impressive margin. I expected that it would have been a very tight one, and it would have been an uphill battle. But based on the results, it was a convincing victory for the St. Lucia Labour Party. Mr. Tyson, we are at the end of this interview, so we're going to begin wrapping up. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation here at WINN FM. Do you have anything else that you would like to add at this point in time?
Well, just 2 things quickly. One is that the UWP also had internal conflicts. And we all know the adage too well, that a house that is divided cannot stand. They went into last election divided. And the country basically said, if you cannot get your house in order, how can you get our country in order? And they rejected Alan Shastany and his government. So what I would really like to say in closing, I would want to capture the election in St. Lucia in one simple sentence. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. The power of the people is greater than the people in power.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Tyson. You do have a good one.
Thank you very much, Devon.
Take care. You were listening to Kenyatta Tyson, a law and political science student at the University of the West Indies, giving his take on the 2021 St. Lucia general elections. I know we're at the end of voices for today, but I'll see if we can take at least 2 callers. We're going to see if we can take at least 2 callers, and we will take them right now. The numbers to call are 466-0989, 762 and 662. We'll try to get in at least 2 callers to give their take as well on the 2021 St. Lucia general elections. Call us quickly, give us your brief comment, as we want to get in as many persons as possible, considering the short time frame, and we're going to wrap up our program. The numbers to call are 466-0989, 762 and 662. And this was WINN FM 98.9's coverage, or after discussion rather, wrap up of the 2021 St. Lucia general elections. Let me say thank you to Mr. Andre Huey, a fellow media personnel and journalist here in St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as my colleague and friend, Mr. Kamali Manix, a history teacher and youth parliamentarian in Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you also to Kenyatta Tyson, a law and political science student at the University of the West Indies, and of course to Dr. Ernest Hilaire. We have a caller on the line. Let's take this call quickly. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
I wanted you to ask him if they are contemplating going to the IMF, given their financial status, because that was done by Barbados after they took over, and everything was in shambles. So that is what I want to know. Are they contemplating going to the IMF? That's all I have to say.
A very good question, caller, and we will pose this question to a relevant person. But that's a very good question considering their position. Do we have any more callers on the line? We're going to try to take as much calls as possible before we hit 1:30, and we're 2 minutes away from 1:30. Call us quickly and give us your take on the general election. We have a caller on the line. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Voices.
Good afternoon, and greetings in Jesus' name. First of all, I would like to say, concerning all of them, all the governments and that sort of stuff, if they don't do things according to the Bible, they're going to go down the road of destruction, and they already started out wrong with the Marxist socialist policies, which all are against the Bible. Socialism, Marxism, communism, fascism, they're all against the Bible, and so therefore they're actually going down the wrong street. In order for the country to properly prosper and survive and enjoy the blessings of Jesus Christ, they have to turn and do things according to the Bible. In Jesus' name and for his glory. Thank you.
Thank you so much, caller. We're at the end of this discussion. Let me say thank you guys so much for joining us here at WINN FM 98.9. I've been your host for today, Devon Cornelius. It was a really, really good discussion. Thank you so much to Andre Huey, a fellow media personnel and journalist here in St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as my colleague and friend Kamali Manix, a history teacher and youth parliamentarian. He also serves as the president of the Youth Parliament Association of Antigua and Barbuda. We were able to touch base with Mr. Kenyatta Tyson, who is a law and political science student at the University of the West Indies, and of course the Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire, who is the parliamentary representative for Castries South, and he represents the St. Lucia Labour Party in the House of Assembly. He was recently elected. This was our coverage, or this was our wrap-up discussion of the 2021 St. Lucia general election. It was a very good discussion, and we were able to get some professional comment and professional feedback from some professionals across the Caribbean region here. And again, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much to the callers and listeners, those persons who tuned in, those persons who participated. Thank you so much for your participation in today's edition of Voices. Coming up next is Working For You. Stay tuned to WINN FM 98.9. I've been your presenter for today, Devon Cornelius. Stay safe and stay well. I'm coming back on Friday for Voices. We will be having another interesting conversation on Friday. Want to know more about this edition of Voices on Friday? Tune into our Facebook page for the update. Thank you guys so much and stay safe.
Here are your Horsfield's Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tag specials from July 15 through 28. 32-ounce Gatorade, just $4.99. Hawaiian Punch drinks, $11.99.